Hey, what's up? Welcome to Degenerate. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts like the charts behind me, which are kind of left over from the unusual whale watching stream that I did on Friday. But yeah, I'm happy to take anybody's request. And if you are new to the channel, this is something that I do every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, happy to take requests, go over them over the course of the next hour or so. And yeah, just get ready for the week to start tomorrow. And here, I have Palantir pulled up on the chart. I did just put out a video on them today. I think it's a really good one. Also put out a video on GameStop, which is kind of a long one, but I really dive into the unusual whales data and stuff like that. Hey, Benjamin, what's up? Yeah, I just think that both of those videos are really good. I'm really enjoying diving into unusual whales, options activity, whether that's to partake in some options plays or just to get an idea of, the potential direction a stock might be going in. If it's one that I hold shares, great. If it's going up, if it's going down, might want to wait to add some more down there. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, and all of these, I noticed some unusual whales activity last week. But yeah, and also one thing that I'm starting this week is the live chat is only accessible to those who are subscribers. And if you are new to the channel, if you're undecided about subscribing, if you just subscribe within 5 minutes, you'll be able to make some requests via the live chat. So yeah, hopefully that's a nice way to bring people in while also kind of, filtering out some of the unnecessary chatter in there. I was doing a live stream last week for the Rocket Lab earnings call, and there was somebody who was not that appreciative in the chat. And live streaming it's a lot of work, and it's not as beneficial as the regular videos that I do. So I think that, it's probably better for me to limit the live streams and or kind of filter out some of the noise from them. But, being a subscriber is free. So, you're welcome to subscribe. And yeah, Benjamin has a question. Do you think about the prospects for BLNK in the coming months? Or what do I think about them? Yeah, so I'm actually going to pull up the... let's see, EV charging stocks that I have here. I mean, BLNK, I feel like, I think that 186, I don't even have to draw anything up here. And I believe I mentioned this in a video that I did on it, or maybe last week's stream. But yeah, hopefully 186 holds as support. Maybe we get some wicks below it, but ideally no closes below it. Quite possible that the 195 is that, wick below and then close, at $2. But yeah, I'm surprised that it so quickly went through 283. I know that, I've definitely mentioned 283 as a level to, wait to buy the dip there if one is to buy the dip. But yeah, it just broke through there. And so let's see, the fifth was... there was a bounce on the fifth, so that did look good. But, yeah, definitely in the video that I put out, I did mention it not, it looking weak, having the big wick here and that. So with this rollover, I'm not too surprised by it. I'd look for holding 186. If that doesn't happen, there's that trend line that I drew. Let's see, I know that I had done some stuff in the past when I first started covering BLNK, doing this, descending triangle. And, I had thought that it was going to break lower. And one thing that I've noticed, whether it's with BLNK, SoFi, if I have a bearish, not necessarily a bearish thesis, but if I think something's going to go down, it can surprise me in that here, it broke out of that wedge, but then it has ended up playing out. And, also, I feel like this, SoFi is a really nice analogy for this as well, because, I had a measured move drawn up on SoFi that was from a Head and Shoulders neckline break, and rather than going down, it broke out. And so that's exactly what happened with BLNK. And so, with Head and Shoulders, one of the really nice things about them is we can take, a measurement. So I believe this is the highest point from that head, take a measurement down to the neckline, and then move this down to the break. And, I know you're not going to be excited about this, and this may never happen. I suspect it won't, because it's, a pretty big downside move. That could be bringing price down to around 110. And if it gets to 110, I would think, it'd probably be hitting $1. And so, maybe there's a bounce around 186. But at this point, really, I can, I'm gonna add this to the request list because I think there's a better comparison with SoFi than with the other EV charging stocks. So I must say that, I don't hold BLNK, I do hold ChargePoint, but that was really just like dollar cost averaging, one share at a time. Was holding the bag for a while with ChargePoint. Now, I could have offloaded my shares up here, but I didn't. So, I'm hoping that ChargePoint bounces and I can, trim my position a little bit. But then, maybe it would go back down. It maybe get rejected from this level. But yeah, I hope that this breaks out, but if this is to continue down, maybe come back down to like 128, I could see if that's the case, I would think that BLNK would definitely be coming down to 186, if not going lower. But yeah, I'm going to flip over to the request list and let's see. And then I'll go over SoFi as well. And I know a lot of these tickers up here were not requested, but I will go over them if you guys are interested. It's all based on, unusual whale stuff. And just so you guys know, there will probably be an ad popping up in just a couple seconds. But yeah, I'll be, here for you guys to go over the charts. And, usually I do skip the ads. That's what I have been doing, but I feel like, I should probably just leave them and just practice. It'll probably be like every 8 minutes. So hopefully that's not annoying. But yeah, looking at the chart here, SoFi, and trying to compare this to BLNK, I had drawn quite a while ago. So purple lines for me tend to be Head and Shoulders. So I had drawn this Head and Shoulders neckline. The measured move would be bringing price down to $6 a share. And so I was expecting that to happen, but then it broke out here, came down to a low prior to that of 615. And so, I was thinking, man, I'm wrong. I didn't want to miss the bottom. And then so, it took off. But then with that sell-off that we saw around last weekend, opening up low on August 5th, SoFi came down to a low during market hours of 601. But if I flip over to the 1 hour chart, it came down to 574. So, that move ended up playing out, that measured move. I still see a gap to the downside at 541. I think that it's going to come down to 550. I think that's a good level to add at. But yeah, maybe this is a bull flag now and it will be breaking out. I just feel like the what we saw on the 5th, I think that there's a lot of weakness in the market. So I am trying to be a little bit more careful with my positions. But anyways, in just relating this to BLNK, I saw this pattern here with a measured move. Maybe it played out just delayed, or maybe it came down to fill that gap for a different reason. I had been talking about that gap being filled since back over here. Let's see, around October is when I started the channel. So, when it was downtrending here, I was talking about it coming down to 6. It broke out, and I was talking about that because of, these gaps down here. And so, yeah, sometimes things just take longer, and sometimes we get faked out. And so, I don't know. I think this coming down, a whole dollar from where it's currently at, I think that's pretty extreme. And, what I could see happening with BLNK, if that was to play out, I'm not saying that I think it's going to, I have no idea, but what I could see happening, I've got this purple uptrend up here that is the neckline of that Head and Shoulders. We broke down a little bit here, but then we broke back above it, tested it, and then we broke lower. Clearly, we have broken below that neckline. And so I could see, I might sneeze in just a second, I'm sorry. I'll mute myself if I do. But I could see this bouncing, retracing to the scene of the crime, that purple neckline, before going down to $1 a share. If that is to happen, I have no idea. And so I think that, while I was talking about 283 before as a potential dip buying level, I think that is a good level to lower some risk, because there is a possibility that it does come down to do this measured move at 110. And if that happens, that's about, a 50% drop from the current price. So, I'd say be cautious if we do get a bounce, and make sure to manage that risk, because it's possible that if it bounces to 283, it won't be getting up to 3. Or maybe, this trend line is, uptrending, that purple line. So maybe it could come back to 3, but then that's resistance and it goes lower. But then from 3 down to 1, that's, a 60%, 66% reduction in price. So do be cautious with it. So do plan for that. And I'm sorry that it's broken down and stuff, but maybe that it will be finding support at 186. So I'd look for that. And then maybe, the next time I look at it, maybe there'd be a potential downtrend that could be acting as support. But right now I just see this one, and that would suggest lower pricing. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. And so, hey Ricardo, what's up? How's it going? And Horacio, I am doing well. Crazy week we just had for sure. It's been a really interesting week for me, because I've been doing a lot with unusual whales, just exploring that data. And I added to positions more aggressively than I anticipated. I expected things to bounce a little bit higher, which I did go over in the trading plan, which will come out Friday for non-members. But the thing that I'm really proud about from last week, which I think you can see from last week's trading plan, maybe, I talk about my SOXS position. I'll pull that up here. I'm actually, I guess I'll leave all this clutter up here, but I'll probably trim it off in a second. But SOXS, this is 3x leverage short semiconductors. I had been talking about my position being around $35. That was my average. And I was about to trim at break even, because I felt like, I don't know if it's going to go that high. But then I recognized, the futures looked down Sunday evening of last week. SOXS might be a lot higher. So I'm going to pick 39.69 to sell my shares. I did sell basically all my shares at the tippy top almost. And now I'm looking to add back in around 28. And by adding back in, it's just going to probably be one share at a time, at least until next Friday I get paid, so I could be more aggressive the following week. But what I found with SOXS in my short positions, I had been buying like one share a week from the start of the year, but then I started to kind of lose conviction down here. But even with that, initial buying going back to, the beginning of the year, so when price was, January, when price was at 68, there was a reverse split. So that translates to, I think, like $7. Yeah, 1 for 10 reverse split here. So, this is when I was dollar cost averaging, buying one share a week. I guess that reverse split would be 1 for 10 reverse split. So for every 10 shares I had, I just ended up having one. So yeah, I guess back here, I was buying 1/10 of a share every week. And through that slow dollar cost averaging that I continued after this reverse split, buying one share every week, minus, down here, because I had lost faith, I made money on that. So on Monday, I made money right before open, closed my positions. I do still have ticker symbol SH, which is a short S&P 500, which is not leveraged. I don't like that one. It just doesn't move that much. So I want to get more heavily into SOXS, SPXU, and maybe SQQQ. And that is just to be slowly dollar cost averaging, because I do think that, this is the bottom for SOXS. And, the stock market, I think it's the top. And so I think that we're just going to be seeing bear market rallies moving forward. But yeah, there's enough on that. And so Ricardo's asking about HKD will be wild. So yeah, I'll look that one up. HKD. This is that HKD stock, New York Stock Exchange, AMTD? Is that right? Let's see. This one, AMTD Digital. This is, let's see, I'm going to learn about this company. AMTD Digital is a comprehensive digital solutions platform company. The company is a one-stop digital solutions platform, operates 4 main business lines, including digital finance service, SpiderNet ecosystem solution, digital media, content, and marketing, as well as digital investments. Hopefully that's the one that you're talking about. Is this what you're talking about, HKD? Ticker symbol HKD, which is AMTD. This is OHLC, so this is, oh wait, well, let's see, sorry. I was looking at this. This is the numbers that go up there. That's not over the counter. This is listed on the New York Stock Exchange. But yeah, I'll get into the chart here in just a second. Since I haven't done it yet, cheers to everybody. Hopefully you guys have had a great weekend. I was not working this weekend. Unfortunately, I do have to be at work in the morning the next 2 days. But then Wednesday, Thursday, I am off. So I'm not looking forward to getting back to work. Wish I had more time over the weekend to be productive. But it was an enjoyable weekend. So cheers to you guys. The weekend and the start of the new week. I think it's going to be another exciting one. So yeah, and hopefully the videos that I've been putting out incorporating unusual whales data, hopefully those are useful and interesting. I find that stuff to be really interesting, but it's like tough to navigate how to incorporate that data into videos without making them super long. And part of that's a learning process and me just getting more familiar with the data so I get it more streamlined. But anyways, cheers to you guys and the exciting week we have up ahead. Yay. Yeah, cheers, Ben. AMTD, cool. Okay, I'm glad I got the right one. And yeah, Ben, I appreciate you saying thanks. Yeah, I think like going on vacation last month in July kind of got me off a little bit, maybe off from the algorithm as well. And then just, wanting to do live streams for earnings and then being a little bit burnt out. I think, getting into unusual whales has kind of reinvigorated me. So, when I come home from work, I'll try to get another video out tomorrow. I know I meant to do one on plug over the weekend, but, I'll have to do that tomorrow or Tuesday. The reason why I didn't do plug over the weekend is because there was unusual whales data on Palantir, GameStop, and the other one that I did, which was, let's see, it should be on the list here, Chewy. Yeah, so, and ASTS. So I, wanted to do those. But yeah, so, hey, Quota, what's up? Any thoughts on Cook OGEN? I will add them here, and I will also kind of clean up the list here of the ones that I've just gone over and or just did videos on. I'm actually just going to clear all this stuff off. DraftKings, maybe I want to look at that out of curiosity for my own sake. Micron, I don't need to do that one. Palantir, did a video on it. Let's see, just went over SoFi. SoundHound, maybe that's one of interest for me to go over. But yeah, we'll add those up here, but then I'm going to go over HKD for Ricardo. And so let's see, Cook, what is Cook? It's an interesting ticker. I like it when they make words. OGEN. OGEN, right there, cool. All right, so HKD. Yeah, so this one is massively low. Ricardo's saying that it will be wild and that we will not regret it. Let's see, unless I'm mixing that up. Yeah, you won't regret it, HKD. So, this is like bled a lot. For me, I'm starting to be a little bit more risk off. And just because of what happened on Monday last week. And let's see, yeah, that was for this one, gap down here. But let's see if there are some levels that stand out as, potential support levels. So, I'm just going to do a Fibonacci here from this low, which was 292. See if I can get that lined up just right. It's going to be off a little bit. and then 492. And so it's 292, is that right? What I said? Yeah, 292. So I'll lock that into place. I'll adjust that bottom level, and then I'll add all of the levels back up here. And so yeah, we got the 1618 extension. So that might be, really it's not an extension necessarily, because this is not a Fibonacci extension. That's just the the next level. So, clearly we've done a full retracement here, but where is that 1618? That is at a price of 168, rounding down, but if you rounded it up, it's 169. So maybe that's going down over $1 from where it's currently at. So I feel like that's a little bit excessive. I'd like to see a support level before then. And so maybe we can do that by doing a Fibonacci extension. And so the way that I will do that is go up here to the Fibonacci extension tool. I'm going to draw it from 618. Ah, man, I'm off by a little bit. And go down to 292. I'm going to have to adjust all these levels and then go up to this high. All right, and so what was this high over here? That was 618, and so now I'm just going to adjust the levels so they are to the penny, 292 and 492. And I am also going to be adjusting this color to yellow so it stands out. So, that gives a little bit more of a more reasonable target with it not going down an entire $1. And so the 786 from that Fibonacci extension, you guys saw how I drew that just from the top here, bottom here, top here, and then it draws levels to the downside. And so I think I can actually add levels to it. I think I might have filtered a lot of them out. So yeah, I've just got those to the upside. So we got that golden pocket there that does correspond with the levels here. But, beyond that, I'm just going to leave it as is because I don't want it to get too cluttered. And we're really just, looking for levels that could be acting as support. With that being said, this close at 278, having hit the low of 265, also getting that big wick down, and really I'd say it closed in the top third, so it'd be better if it closed in the top half, but maybe that big wick down is a suggestion of this being a bottoming signal. So maybe this is a great dip buying level, 280, right around there. But if that does not hold, the next level down would be 236, right around there, the 786 here from that extension. And then going down to the 100%, which does correspond pretty nicely with that 1618, right around 166 to 169. So I find that really interesting when the levels do overlap. I just think that's neat. But then another thing we can do is connect some of these bottoms to see if there's like a downtrend that does correspond with one of these levels. So I'm thinking like 236. If one wants to wait for it and doesn't want to go in now, maybe 236, but with this golden pocket here and that full retracement, taking out the lows, maybe that is the bottom that is in. So I'm just gonna draw, let's see, a ray here from the low here to this low, and that's 292. This one is 367. Just gonna lock that in place, 367 here, 292 here. And let's see, I'm gonna make that line a little bit thicker so we can see it better, and I'm gonna color it red. And so with that does break below the 786, just moving forward in time. So, but maybe, I'd keep an eye on those levels because maybe there is, a wick below 236, but a close above. And then that could be, a very clear bottoming signal. But as of right now, with this big wick to the downside, it's quite possible that is a bottoming signal, because I would think this is a bear flag because there is a down move and it has been consolidating here. But with this wick that makes me think that the bottom might be in, that buyers are holding it up. Because when I see, big wicks to the upside, like what happened with, I believe, ChargePoint, maybe there's a nice example with that. I feel like these other stocks that I've covered, more in depth, I guess, I think there are some nice lessons in them. So, oh, wait, no, I don't think it was ChargePoint. It was Tilray. I'm sorry. I'm going to go over the Tilray chart because I had a position in Tilray. I did exit it. I was thinking, about holding it long term. But the thing that I saw, I held one share because I wanted to be watching it to see if I was wrong. But, we had this up move, pull back to, all of these levels here that you can see. It looked like it was getting support. Gap up, starts to consolidate. And I'm thinking, hey, this is looking good. There's an up move. It's consolidating. But there are these big wicks to the upside. Maybe there's a top that's being formed. And so on this day, on the 1st, I ended up cutting all of my shares except for one at 202 based on this level, but also that's just what it was trading at. And my average was, I think, 181. And so, then it pulled back. And so, I think, you might think looking at this, I mean, if I switch over to the hour time frame, maybe it'll look a little bit more like a potential bull flag. So here, we got this big green candle up, and then we've got this consolidation. So it's like one might think, hey, that's a bull flag, but we're getting these signals of, big move up, but then it's quickly being retraced within the next hour and then closing lower. Same thing again over here. And so, that suggested to me that there's probably some weakness. I'm going to exit, even though it looks like, it could be a bull flag with that upside move and consolidation. These wicks suggest otherwise, and that's exactly what we saw. And so now I'm kind of wondering if this is a bear flag, if it will be breaking lower. There are no big wicks to the downside suggesting that buyers are pushing it up or holding it up. It's really just consolidation after this big down move. Maybe you could argue it's, consolidation after this bounce here. But, considering that it's right around these levels, I've experienced that with Rivian. I could pull up that chart as well for a nice example of a bear flag where, it's consolidating. One might be getting hope, but then it breaks. And so with that being said, was I just talking about HKD? Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about this in kind of the opposite way. Those were, I was hoping of bullish consolidation, but it ended up being bearish. This one, it looks like it's a downside move, consolidation, just like it was over here, but there were no pronounced downside wicks. It was all just, consolidation over here. This is, there are some pretty big wicks to the downside. And so I think that while this might look like a bear flag, it could definitely be looking like some bottoming signals. And so I might pull up, the Rivian chart just to show what I was talking about. It was from a while ago, and I was actually holding shares. I ended up cutting my position at a loss, and I started adding back in. But I think this is a really cool example. You might be able to see it, just popping out of the chart. I had identified this level, and I had identified a different level here. Maybe I can just draw it kind of roughly. Maybe it was from this point to this one. Nope. Let's see. I think maybe something along the lines of like where the cursor is. You see that horizontal line. I was thinking, oh, we're consolidating above that level. But then I recognize from seeing other people's charting that, oh, well, actually it's consolidating below this level. That ended up being a pretty clear bear flag, and it gapped down. And so, yeah, that was a clear bear flag because there weren't big wicks down suggesting that buyers are stepping in. And so with HKD, at least this one day does suggest that buyers are stepping in. Maybe the bottom's in, but you got to give it a week probably to see if it's still consolidating in this range a week from now. Then I think it's probably a bear flag, unless there are a lot of downside wicks suggesting that buyers are pushing it up. So hopefully that's helpful. For me, I'm too risk off right now to be interested in this. Unless it were to come down to like 236, then I'd get a little bit more interesting interested in it just because I feel like things always go lower than I expect. And really, like whenever I buy something, I feel like it's a curse. I feel like we all experience that whenever we go long something, it goes down. Whenever we short something, it goes up. That's just how it is. But yeah, so hopefully that's helpful. I'm just going to catch up on the live chat, and then I'll go over the ones that Quoto was requesting. Can the crash of a stock sometimes be followed by a move of as much as 6 times? I'm not really sure, but definitely like when something sells off a lot, that can be kind of like, pulling a slingshot back and then it really launches. But, with that, it has to be like a quick down move and then a bounce. If you get a big down move and then it's consolidating, that's like a bear flag. And so whenever there is that kind of big upside move, it's usually, just a couple candles down and then it goes up. So I'd look for that. And so I think if you're referring to Blink, I'll pull that up just real quick. Let's see. Yeah, and so this right now, this doesn't really suggest to me that a bottom's in. While there are some nice wicks to the downside, it has just continued to go lower. So I would want to see, a big wick to the downside in a close in like the upper quarter, or, not as ideal, upper third, ideally upper quarter. That would be suggesting that there's a potential bottom being formed. So I'd look for big wick to the downside and a close in the upper quarter. That's a bottoming signal. But that also needs to be followed by confirmation, which I'm not that great at dealing with or recognizing, at the right time to buy. But it's really just the example, that we all know. You can never sell the exact top. You can never buy the exact bottom. And so you need to wait for the signal to show that, okay, there's enough momentum, it's going to be going in that direction. And so right now, I think that it's probably going to fade more. 186, look for a wick down to there, maybe below it, but a close above. In that upper quarter of the candle, that could be a clear bottoming signal. Like a hammer candle at the bottom, that is a bottoming signal. Even an inverted hammer is potentially a bottoming signal at the bottom, but I think, a hammer candle is better for a bottoming signal. Big wick to the downside. But anyways, I will get to Quoto's request. And I will also add Lazaro's request. Yeah, everything's going great. I just wish I didn't have to work tomorrow, but other than that, things are good. Yeah, I will go over INDO. I'll add it up here, but then I'm going to go over Quoto's his requests next. INDO, Indonesia Energy Corporation. So yeah, I'll definitely look over that. And yeah, no problem, Ricardo. Hopefully that was helpful. And Quoto is saying it looks great on the monthly and the weekly chart. Are you referring to, let's see, Quoto, which one are you referring to? If you're referring to, let's see, what Ricardo was talking about, the HKD, I'll flip back to it, but in the meantime, I will move on to your request of Cook, and then I'll come back. Well, actually, if in case you're looking at HKD, and that's what you're referring to on the weekly, so weekly, if this was what you're referring to, I do think that this looks potentially good with that big wick to the downside. NUTX, I want to say nuts. That's a pretty funny ticker. Yeah, so, but I will look at HKD on the weekly. So on the weekly, I think that you can take this as is because this is the weekly candle that has closed. As far as the monthly goes, we have only started the month. So, yeah, tough to really have much weight in a monthly candle right now. But yeah, this looks to me like, what this could be is, if we start to see this, maybe it ends up being red, but comes back up here, and then we see a green candle for the month of September. That could be that'd be a rising 3 methods, I believe, where you have a green candle, 3 red down, a green candle that suggests move to the upside, because basically like you see a big bullish move, some weaker bearish moves, and then you reclaim those weaker bearish moves, and the momentum continues to the upside. We haven't seen that yet. This monthly candle is not yet complete. But yeah, so I will go over Cook before I get too distracted. Um, and yeah, NUTX, it's a funny ticker. But here, yeah, I'll go over Cook first, and then the next one was OGEN. But let's see here. I've got to adjust the axis so it's automatic. So this one looks pretty interesting. This to me looks like, big down move, a lot of consolidation. I don't know that this would qualify as a bear flag anymore because it's been, moving to the side for so long. But one thing that might be interesting to look at is, let's see, I'm going to do it from, I guess I'll do it, yeah, from when it gapped down here and then going over. I'll have to adjust this so it includes everything and includes whatever's in the future too. I'm going to make the lines clear. I think it's just too much noise. But yeah, we can see it has been consolidating in this range. It does look like it just broke out though. And that is including, the recent price action. So, like what I would think of, if this was a bear flag, big moves to the downside, consolidating over here. And maybe, yeah, this is worthwhile looking at the weekly so we get, a clearer picture of that downside move. Maybe look at it on the monthly. Yeah, this, looks like a bear flag, big down move, consolidation over here. This is the monthly that we haven't seen where the candles are going to close. And so I think that this is potentially bearish, but the month is not over, and looking at this on the weekly time frame, it looks like we potentially broke out. We need to see confirmation though, and so looking at the daily as well, it does look like we have broken out, but we need to see confirmation. And so I think like the clearest way to get an idea of that is probably going to be to look at the weekly candles, because it has been trading in this range going back to September, almost a year ago, the end of September of last year, has been trading in this range. So if we adjust that time scale, switch over to the weekly, we did get one close outside of that range. So that looks really good, but it's not confirmation. And so my understanding of what confirmation would be a close above this week's high. And so the high for the past week was $3.02. So I think that what we want to see moving forward is a close above 302. We get a close above a weekly close, not a daily close, a weekly close. So we'll have to check back next Sunday to look at this. But, here, like I think that we really need to see a close above 302 on the weekly time scale for that to be confirmation that this is going to break out. If we get a close back in here, that's not negating that there's a potential breakout. That's just, there's no confirmation. And so whenever we get a weekly close above 302, then that is, suggesting this is going higher. So I think it looks really good, but I think it just needs a little bit more of, the confirmation that has broken out. And what I can also do is maybe this will add to it. I can do a Fibonacci retracement going from 670 down to the low here of 197.1, kind of an odd one there. But here we've got the 236. That is at a price of 308.7 or 309. And that does correspond pretty nicely with 302. So I think that if we see a weekly close above 309, I think that suggests to me that's confirmation that this very faintly downtrending consolidation, we've broken out and this is going to be going higher. And then from there, from getting above that, I just look for it to kind of like stair step its way, like let's say we break out here, but then pull back to the 236 at 309 and then break above the 382, pull back to 378, hold that as support, and then continue this pattern kind of, breaking up above those levels. So yeah, I think this chart looks really good potentially, But, and also on the weekly, we see this bullish engulfing candle. Sometimes those can be fake outs. I don't feel that they always play out in the way that we'd hope or expect. A bullish engulfing candle, we can see a retrace and, reclaim any of those gains, and then it becomes not so bullish. So, yeah, I mean, I look for close on Friday next week, 302. So remind me to check this out next Friday or next Sunday. I'll forget to. So make sure you request it. And if you can't join the live stream, I'll post the link to the live stream before, and you can just open up the live chat, post a comment, and then I'll pull it up and go over it then. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a super cool potential breakout right there on the weekly and on the daily. Let's see. I'm just going to move this one over to so it matches with the exact candle that was that high. But yeah, super cool chart. So hopefully that was helpful there. Yeah, I mean, I think that like downside risk though with this, I guess I should say, is coming down to like 197 or like $2. So I think that's the risk on this side, but the upside looks like it's pretty good. There's good risk to reward ratio, so hopefully that's helpful. And I see some more comments from Hydro Hustla Nursery. Is that LOVA, all lowercase? So I assume that's LOVA. Lovable market. I'll add that on here. And IVOA. Okay, I'm assuming. Well, lovable market. Let's look at that one as well. Did I even add that to the request list? It doesn't seem like it's up there. Yeah. Lovable market. What? LOVA. I don't even know. I don't see anything pop. Oh, it's 9254. So that's pretty funny. I'm going to look up IVOA. And that is the Delaware Ivy Mid-Cap Income Opportunities. So that's an interesting one. I have not looked at that, so I'll have to learn about it a little bit. But yeah, I'll definitely, IVOAX, is that correct? But, I'm first going to delete Lovable, and then I'm going to move on to Quota's other request, which was, let's see, OGEN. Let's see. OGEN. Okay, and this one, yeah, definitely looks like it could be breaking out. What I would think is, I mean, maybe this is boring, but what I could see with this as there being like a retrace to the breakout level and that being a really nice dip buying opportunity. It did go up 30% effectively on Friday. But yeah, let's look at the chart here and see what's going on. Okay, so doing just a retracement from the top here, 343. Can I get that lined up just right? Looks good there. And then coming down to this low of 86.1 cents. Can I get that right? There we go. All right, so yeah, I mean, I think this is looking like it could potentially be bumping into resistance around the 236. However, it clearly looks like, we just broke out. I could draw this in a couple different ways. Let's see, just, for me being lazy, let's see, from, the price action here, that, it's not really that interesting, but it does look like a breakout. What stands out to me as potentially a little bit more interesting is if I draw a ray, and this is going to be a little bit arbitrary. Or maybe it's not. Maybe this is actually straight up. I was thinking of something like, a trend line around here. But it does look like, there are potentially multiple trend lines that the price is broken out of. So I think this looks really good. And a retrace would be actually just like coming back to those lows. So maybe this momentum will be continuing. But so here, I'm just going to line these up to the penny because I got issues. I just want to do that. 236 and 202. So 236 and 202. So there's that. And I'm going to do this one. I will do this one red. And then I will do another trend line going from this high and this high over here. So this one is at 124. This one's at 108. So 124, 108. Looks like it's good there. And I'm going to do this one yellow. This one's, we broke out of both of these levels, and this could be extended back to over here. Been trading below both of these trend lines, and we very clearly broke out, got a pretty strong candle. The high on Thursday was 139. We closed above it. And so, I think that you could actually view this as the candle from Friday was confirmation of the breakout, because, maybe you could adjust this. I just drew it based on these two pivot highs. This one's not really a pivot high, I guess, because it was the open of the day. It was the high, so it doesn't seem so pivotal. But there's, those two highs. On Thursday, we did close above both of these trend lines, and then that had a massive high wick up as well as a wick below, suggesting indecision. And then the move that we saw was a 30% move to the upside, closing above that prior high. So as far as I understand confirmation, that looks like it's confirmation, although, we saw all of this volume on Thursday, and there's a lot of indecision there. We don't see much volume, and it goes even higher. So, that seems a little peculiar to me, because, I would think that there'd be more volume with it getting pushed this high. And so with there not being a lot of volume backing this move, I think it could be bumping into resistance around 147, the 236 here. And then, I don't think it'd be pulling back to this downtrend. I think it could be pulling back instead to maybe this high. I just said what the number was over here. It's 124. So right there, that seems to me like a potential level for this to pull back and to dip by there. But, maybe I'm wrong. And also, though, too, there was this gap to the downside. That gap has since been filled, so that might be suggesting that there could be some resistance here, because any, bag holders from back here, maybe they want to take profits here. Maybe that's what we saw on Thursday. But yeah, I'd say that 124, pull back to that. And in the after hours, if I pull up the hourly time frame, the after hours, it hasn't pulled back to 124, but maybe it will in the pre-market tomorrow, on Monday. So maybe that's a nice dip buying level. So yeah, I think it's a really cool chart, really nice breakout, but with that big move of 30%, I think it's a little bit precarious, because it could be retracing some of that. And I guess, I don't want to be doing too many Fibonacci retracements, but from the low there to the high that was hit on Friday, let's see, and I'm just going to adjust this to fraction of a penny low there, and I'm going to color this yellow. So it's actually, I'll do light blue, so I'm not overlapping colors. It looks kind of similar to green, but it's different. The golden pocket here is 106 to 108, basically. The 786 would correspond with retesting that yellow downtrend. So, if it does break below 124, I'd look for 106 to 108, and that could be like a level to establish a portion of a position, but then really go heavier at 98 or $1 at the 786. That could be corresponding with a retrace to the scene of the crime and then a bounce. So yeah, very cool chart. So hopefully you guys all found that interesting. And then I will, let's see. I see Disclosure Crypto has a request. I'm just going to type up so I can see it, because there's this little heart emoji that gets in the way. Chief could look at Gari Network. Is Gari Network a cryptocurrency? I'd be happy to look it up. If it is Gari USD, I'll look that up in TradingView, though. But first, I'm going to continue down with the list. Quoto had one last request of NUTS, NUTX. And so we'll look at this chart, and then I'll go over Hydro Hustla's request of the IVOAX, and hopefully I have that right. And so, from this, kind of interesting, we got this, pullback here, and maybe we can do a Fibonacci retracement with the 168 as a potential level of where a top might be. And so this is the high of 926. I'm going to have to adjust that by a fraction of a penny. The low here, 645. So can I get that? Nope. I'm going to have to do both of them. So 645 and this one's 926. Oops. 2645. I'm just switching these numbers. And so from that, you can already see it, but $11. That seems to me like a potential target level. Also, it does kind of correspond with this consolidation over here, just being a rough line that's around 142. But, getting up to that level, I don't know if it's going to show up in the volume profile. I'll have to, let's see, volume profile, throw that up. Yeah, we do see a little bit of a shelf. It's not that crazy as you wouldn't expect because there's all this consolidation over here. But we do see a shelf stick out a little bit there corresponding with this consolidation. I think that'd be some resistance. And so, I'm just going to remove the volume profile so it's not too cluttered. But with that being said, I could see this, after going up 27.85%, about 28%. I could see this continuing up, even though it pulled back about 1% in the after hours, coming down to $10. I could see this going up to 11. That represents an upside move of 8 or 9%. But then from there, I could see it pulling back to 926, finding that as support. And, let's see, are there other levels that potentially stand out? I think that maybe we could, and maybe this is, I'll do it out of the picture just to get the suspense going, but let's see, if we connect these lows with the highs here, I think price is, yeah, maybe that's something I'm not going to lock that into place because this is just kind of, just kind of seeing what happens. We broke out from that. But that's, just kind of arbitrary, just kind of having fun seeing, this prior support ended up being resistance here. And, maybe from this we see a big move to the upside, get rejected at 11, and it doesn't just pull back to a 926. Maybe it pulls back to, let's see, that's around, can't see because these candles are in the way, 820 to 828, and that could correspond with retesting that downtrend, which is just approximate. But if we are to assume that price does go up to $11, we can just do, just kind of having fun with this retracement here. And I'm going to color that light blue so it stands out a little bit. If that were to be the case, a retracement to that golden pocket would again be right around, $8 up to like 820, and 786 would be down to around 750. So who knows how high it's going to go, but I think that this could still move up to 11. But at that point, I think the risk is then greater than the reward at 11 or 1142. But those are some levels. 1142 really just being kind of approximate. Let's see if there are options with this. No, there are no options with this. I was going to see maybe there's something that could look up in unusual whales to see if this bullish move might be continuing. But I think that 1142 top, pull back to 926 is my guess, but I could very well be wrong. And so Quodo was saying, I would love nuts to pull back. And so, yeah, I mean, if it pulled back to 926 or, coming down as low as like 750 around there, $8 maybe. So we'll see what happens. But, in wanting that to pull back, it might push higher. So you get the FOMO. And then you think, oh man, crap, it's going higher than 11. I want to get in. And then at that point, that's the top. And then it pulls back to 750. So, yeah, looks really cool. I'm Didn't expect this trend line to be, so much lower here, but, maybe that's a breakout, but maybe we pull back to retest it. So I'd keep an eye out for that. And hey, Nameless, what's up? I will add Upwork 9 and FSLY to the list for sure. And I think there's just one ahead of your request. So you timed this pretty well. So Upwork 9 and FSLY. All right, so I will look at then IOVA. And so I did pull up IOVAX, but maybe that is, wait, did I type it in incorrectly? IOVA. IVO, yeah, I think there's a bunch of confusion around that one. So IOVA, which is Iovance Biortherapeutics, I imagine. And so I got that up there. And I will go over that one. Okay, so yeah, this doesn't necessarily look like a blow off top because it did close in the upper half of that trading. There's a nice wick up there that does correspond with this prior high. So there very well might be a double top forming, especially with this gap to the downside. Big volume on the day, so I think that's good. RSI is still below 70, so there's more room for it to run. And I think, we can do a couple Fibonacci's to see. We can do like 3 Fibonacci's. Or I think the best one to do is probably this full one here. So from 1833 down to 711. So going from there, it looks like, it got rejected from the 236 before, although it wasn't technically, the 236 because we hadn't hit the low of 711. Although these lows over here were 717, that effectively be the 236. So it was already rejected from that level, then formed a double bottom right around 711 to 717. And now this gap up, lots of volume behind it, although, not as much volume as we saw over here. And we did see a pullback of 2 cents or 0.2% in the after hours after having moved up about 25% on the day, gapping up. I imagine earnings was in the after hours on the 8th, so on Thursday, and so that's why we see that gap up. And so, yeah, let's see. I could see this pulling back a little bit and then continuing. I think that Palantir kind of did that, where they gapped up, or they moved up a lot. They pulled back a little bit and then they continued going. And so, yeah, I'd like to see closes above these highs. So the high on July 26th was 1012. The high from last Friday on the 9th was 1016. So good that, price was going higher than that, but really want to see a close above that level. And so I could see pullback and then a continuation to potentially getting up to the 382 around 1140. And then at that point, I would think, let's see, I've had some issues with this drawing tool, but let's see if I can draw this. What I would think could happen here is it goes up. Yeah, like I want to draw. Do I have to? Oh, stay in drawing mode. I don't know what that means. I need to switch to the drawing tool here. My bad. So what I could see is it going up, getting rejected around 1140 at the 382, and then pulling back, finding the current price that it's at, 976, a little bit higher than that currently, finding that as support, and then from there, maybe it goes down to fill that gap, but I could see that acting as support and then it going higher. And so, I need to, I'm not that great with this drawing tool. Stay in drawing mode. I don't know that I want that. So let's see. I'm just going to go bump, bump, man. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, sorry. I'm getting used to this. So go bump, bump. What the hell? Okay. So bump, bump. I just did this. Oh. Yes, because I was clicking it. Okay, sorry. I know this doesn't matter, but I want to do this, so I'm learning how to use this better for other charts. So yeah, I mean, dang it. I need to click. I need to click at the end. That's my problem. There, I did it. So I could see price doing that. And so maybe, if one has a position in it, maybe one wants to trim at 1140 with the expectation that it would pull back. But if it does continue, maybe don't trim all. So if in case it does get up there, it could continue. But, with this Fibonacci retracement, I think it's pretty cool. Like you don't just draw it and then say, hey, these levels. Draw it and then say, how do those levels relate to other stuff on the stock, on the chart? And so the 236, potential double top here. So maybe we do see a pullback, but it's already been rejected from that level and then formed a double bottom. So that makes me think this could continue higher. Also, uptick in the volume. It's about, let's see, volume traded on Friday, 23.63 million. The volume over here was less than that. So, yeah, the last time that we saw that much volume was back over here, which was a lot more volume. But this is good. So I could see it moving up there, getting rejected there. Why would it be getting rejected from that, arbitrary Fibonacci level? Because it was support over here. And because that was prior support, it might be future resistance because there were, buyers here and price has been below that level. And so those buyers may want to trim when it gets back to their break-even price, or, if they had been accumulating down here, that's not just a break-even price, that's a take profit level. And then once they do that, it pulls back to here. Why would it bounce here? Because we had, a double top. We've had multiple tests of that level. There's consolidation there. And so that could be support. And also going back further in time, we see this, double top or, effectively a cup and handle before the big move up. And so that looks really good to me. The 236, if we do get above it, if we do, make our way up to 1140, I think a pullback to 976 could definitely be acting as support. So yeah, I think the chart looks really cool. And this gap may get filled, but it might take some time. I've had the issue in the past of seeing a gap and then being, I'm not touching it until that gap is filled, and then I miss out on 3-6 months of bull rally and then a collapse and then the gap's filled. So this is what I would see happening. So move up to 1160 by the 20th. So over the course of the next couple of weeks, pull back by the end of the month to 976, and then by mid-September, seeing if we're getting to 1272. So, hopefully that's helpful. I think this is really cool. And then seeing how those levels, could be, related to prior levels. And yeah, so hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, so it's a pretty cool chart. So yeah, hopefully you like that. And then now I will get on to Nameless's requests, which are, and you said cheers, and I haven't had a drink in a little while, so cheers to you, Nameless. Cheers to everybody for joining. Thanks for being here. And wow, I have streamed for about an hour, so I might wind this down after these requests, just because I got work in the morning. I want to add timestamps to this, and I also want to not be so drained tomorrow that I'm too tired to put out a video in the evening. But yeah, so I will go over Nameless's request in the order that he requested them. So Upwork to start. Wow. Yeah, disappointing earnings, I guess. Is that right? News, Upwork maintained sector performance, RBC Capital. What do the analysts say? Can you guys see current 933 and their levels, price targets for 11 analysts. So for 11 analysts, it looks like the majority of them are saying either buy or strong buy. And then, some hold. Nobody's saying underperform or sell. And the current price is below all of these targets. But yeah, and so this Fibonacci retracement, I don't know if that is not so useful anymore. I want to extend that down to here. What I could do for this one, maybe there's potentially something interesting with this, is I can add the 1618. We did wick down to that level. That's not to say necessarily that it's found support here, but with it wicking below and closing above, maybe it fades down to 873, so maybe that's something. But, it could be, a fade. Like with American Airlines, it gapped down. I had expected, a gap down, it's at the level that I think, or, I'm going to add. I bought a call. And then it just faded down over the course of like the next 2 months, and I ended up losing money on that trade. And so these things always take longer than we expect. And one thing that I was thinking about, I was going for a walk in the park, and I was thinking about how one thing that charting does, it's great. It puts a lot of data on the screen. We can interpret it, we can analyze it. But one thing that it does is it compresses time. So, if I'm looking at the charts every single day, I see the ups and downs intraday, I get mixed up in a lot of that emotion or a lot of the volatility. But when we look at charts like this in candles, we kind of forget how much time it takes for this to come down. If we're paying attention to the intraday, if we're watching every single day, we don't we don't have the patience for this move to be fully drawn down here before this bounce and then this move down. And so we see this as, it wicked down to that level, 873. That's the bounce. It's going to go higher now. But the reality is, we look at this on the hourly time frame. We see, these wicks, it tested that level here, getting a low of 876, just a few pennies above that level. Then it comes down here, but really this is just a fade. And it's probably going to take longer than just a couple candles. It could take, let's see, just kind of drawing a line from here to here. It could be, the rest of the month of August, a fade down to 873. So that's kind of what I would think would happen with this. I could probably draw a downtrending level based on these. But what I might do is, rather than include this yellow Fibonacci, I'm going to do an extension from the high here to the bottom here and up top here, because I think that could, be showing other levels to the downside that could be acting as support. So yeah, I'm just going to do that Fibonacci extension from 1636, going from there to this low of 1010, and then to 1230. And so I'm just going to, oh crap, I got this all mixed up here because I moved it. So that's, let's see, that was the low? Yeah, that was the low. Okay, so lock that in place so it's not moving. And I'm going to draw these lines, 1636, 1010, and 1230. Miraculously, they're all lined up. And let's see, from that, we got the golden pocket there. We got the 50%, so maybe there's some hope there. And that one, we're below it, so I'm not going to be concerned about that one potentially being support. And I will make this yellow like the prior one was yellow. And so, yeah, so 917, look for it to hold that. And, looking at this chart, it's, all red here. But if we look at this on the hourly time frame, maybe, I'm just trying to think, we see this candle here go down to there. Maybe I look at the 30-minute time frame. Yeah, I'm just trying to get this. So this, the 10-minute time frame, maybe we see, yeah, so by fudging the chart like that, adjusting the time scale, we see now this green candle, which was actually a bullish engulfing candle right here on the 10-minute time scale. And then from there, consolidating over here. But one thing that we're doing that I don't really like is uptrending consolidation. And so this is, the 10-minute time scale. I don't normally do analysis like this, but here, just looking at that, that looks like uptrending consolidation that tends to be bearish. While there is a bounce here, I had to really, fine tune the chart to be, okay, the 10-minute time scale, that gives me what I want. But, the chart, we saw a fake out break here. It's now back here. This is uptrending, tends to break to the downside. So I think that this actually doesn't look that strong. If I flip back over to the 1 hour time frame, this seems like, let's see, the 4 hour time frame, maybe that's, red candle consolidation. If we look at the daily time scale, and I can delete that little channel I just drew there. I would want to see it not get any closes below 917. If we see a close below 917, maybe it's a fake out. I don't know. But I would think that these levels to the downside could be acting as support. And like this golden pocket here, it's nice that we found the 50% just below where we're currently trading at 917 here. Let's see, that's about 15 cents or so, whatever. That's 16 cents below current price. Mental math, I'm not that great at it. So maybe there's some hope there, maybe that's support, but we need to be seeing a bounce closing the week with this inverted hammer. Maybe that's a reversal signal. But looking at it on the weekly time frame, this actually, could suggest some indecision. Big wick to the upside, big wick to the downside. We want to see daily and weekly close above 917. If we don't, 873 seems like it's the next potential level of support to the downside. And with that being said, I can probably draw a trend line. I'm just going to do it from, actually, I'm going to think about this a little bit more. So the wick low here to one of those. So this was a low of 1353. It lined up just right. And then I'll do, let's see. However you want to draw this, it suggests to me here the low 10 at 98. So those are lined up to the lows there. That suggests to me that, maybe that's a level of support. We also see closing below this low. So maybe that's a little bit concerning. That's, let's see, horizontal line at 956. Lock that into place. I'm just making sure, I'm locking all this stuff into place. And when we closed below that, so 956, I think that's a good one to be getting above. But yeah, 917, we don't want to see any closes below that. So that's what I would look for. I think that would be my number one thing. But I would expect that price were to come down to 873. But maybe that's wrong. Maybe that's a wrong sentiment to have. But 917, key level in my opinion. So hopefully that's helpful there. And Hydro Hustla is doing some cheers. So I will do cheers as well. And you're asking, do you think we will be having another crash? I'll get into that at the end of the video. The answer is yes. I think that we just started a bear market. You look at a bull market, everybody talks about we're in a bull market, and it's usually around the top, not at the bottom. The best time to make money is at the beginning of a bull market, not at the end of the bull market when it's clear that, we've gone up a lot. And so a bear market, I think the best time to take advantage of that is acknowledging that the top is in at the top and that we're fading down. So I'll go over why I think that. I did do a video on why I think it's a good time to short the market in semiconductors. And so I go over my rationalization with that. And so I don't think it's a good time to go really heavy in short positions. I made money on the 5th at pre-market because I had slowly accumulated short positions over the course of the year, and I exited when I saw that gap down, that we were opening Monday at a gap down. I took a small amount of profit, but I made money on that. And now I can add back in, slowly averaging into short positions so that when we see the next leg down, I can make money on that. And so I think that those crashes, whether it's a crash or just, the downside move. And I'll talk kind of about how candles distort our perspective of time, because I think that's a good example of, crashes. But I'll get into that at the end. I think that's a good note to end on. And I don't think that means that there's no way to make money as a bull. I think it's just that, it's got to be shorter term plays, in and outs. And so that's kind of why I've been taking a more of an interest in unusual whales. Also, I've just always wanted to, but because then you're looking at plays with expirations. Options have expirations. So whether you're doing those plays with options or doing those plays with shares, it gives you kind of in and out levels and in and out time frame. So I think that that's a really good way to trade right now. But yeah, the other ones from Nameless, 9 is the next one. This could be double bottom. I could spend a lot of time on this. I've clearly done a lot here, but let's see. I will clean up some of this rather than adding stuff. I'll omit stuff. Do I think that? Yeah, maybe that trend line's of importance or of significance. This one, we don't need that because we've already gone up. But I can adjust this to be the high over here. So it's a high of 202, is that right? And so, yeah, I'm just going to move that to that high at 202, lock that in place. And so, yeah, I mean, regardless, we have done a full retracement coming down to a low of 135, whereas the low over here was 137. Wick below it, close above. We don't want to see any closes below 137 or definitely not below 135. But if we do, that's not a confirmation or not a confirmation. We haven't broken because we got a wick below this prior low of 137, but we closed above. We closed at 140. So there's no break. A wick below, close above, it's not a break as far as I understand. A break would be a close below 137. Confirmation of that break would be a close below that new low. So if we get a close on Monday at 136, and that's the low of the day, that's a break below this prior low, but it's not confirmation. Confirmation would then be closing below 135. That would suggest it would continue lower. And so for right now, I think this looks like it's, with this spinning top doji, did it open and close at the exact same price? Opened at 135, closed at 140. That's pretty crazy. Am I reading that right? This is the daily time frame. Opened at 140. I don't know why it says, 140. It said 135 for some reason. I was looking at the low. Oops. 140 to 140. So this is, spinning top doji. I don't think it's exactly center. The high was 144. The low is 135. So a little bit more of a wick to the downside. And so that, this is red. Very interesting. I feel like the psychology of this makes me think that this should be green because, you're opening and closing at the same price. So really it shouldn't be red or green. It should be like yellow or something. But it actually had a lower low relative to the open and close, went down 5 cents and then bounced, whereas it went up 4 cents and then retracted. And so this suggests to me that there's more buying pressure pushing this up because from the low, it went up 5 cents versus from the high, bears were only able to push it down 4 cents. So, I don't think that there's necessarily bears pushing, and pulling and, all this bulls pushing and pulling. But, those like sellers were only able to drop it 4 cents to bring it back to that open, whereas bulls were able to push it up 5 cents to get it back to that open price. So I think this looks like it's a bottoming signal. I think it looks like a double bottom. But if not, if it does break lower, I don't know if I have it drawn up here. No, but I can add the 1618. and that could be suggesting a level to the downside, which would be around $1. And, really just psychologically, that makes sense. $1 a share, 40 cents to the downside. That's a lot percentage-wise, but I think that makes sense if this was to break below. But I think that, especially, this downtrend that I had drawn there, that's a little bit arbitrary. I don't think it's probably not locked in. It is locked into place. So I'm not sure what those pivot points are or whatever. But, just being above that downtrend, maybe there's some support there. But yeah, to me, it looks like a double bottom. So I won't spend any more time on it. I'm going to go with double bottom. But if we get closes below 137 and 135 or whatever the new lows are, then I think that it's going lower. But I think potentially dip buying opportunity. And so the next one from Nameless is Fastly, of course. So here, gap down after earnings, which I assume were after hours on the 7th. Gap down here. So I would want to see a reclaim of that trend line. Is that trend line really drawn that significantly? No, I think that I could adjust this to be, kind of gave us those levels. And so this is just, you can adjust this to whatever the lows are. 677. I'm just going to make sure that's 677, so that's good. And that's 783 was the low. Yep, so that's lined up just right. So I don't think it's terribly surprising that it dropped to that level. I do think that it's come to this level of support. But it closed the week right at that level. So getting a close below 152, like the low from Thursday, I think that's bad. I would think that's not necessarily confirmation, because that'd be the first close below the level. But getting a close below 152, I think would look not so great, and that it could be going lower. Man, I guess I had done a measured move here because it was in this channel. I was thinking, maybe it broke out. That's based on maybe this is a left shoulder, inverse head, right shoulder. That did not end up playing out. And so that's why, I think it's really important, and I'm not the best at this. I'm still learning how to recognize this, but, there was no confirmation of this breakout. And then following this hammer candle, there's a bearish engulfing candle. Then this one suggests kind of like indecision, it's like a spinning top. And then this inverted hammer with that big wick to the upside, corresponding with big wick up over here. And, not being able to get closes above the highs, that was kind of a bearish indicator that, there just wasn't enough to be pushing it higher, that this breakout was a fake out. And then this big candle to the downside, and then bear flag here, consolidation gap down. So that's rough, but it might be at support now with this downtrend. And so just in case you want to draw it on your charts, it's based on the lows from May 2nd and then the other low from June 20th. So that's how I get that trend line. Pretty cool how it intersects with those candles. People might be panicking a lot here, and maybe it doesn't bounce right away. Maybe it fades following that downtrend. But I do think that it could be, a downtrending support. But, looking at the RSI here and thinking about, that the RSI is at 2352, so below 30, it is oversold. We can see here that this is 2152. Is that the lowest? 2352? No, it's been lower over here. And so I haven't done too much with, this would be, I believe, bullish divergence. If this is lower lows here and this is higher lows, I believe that would be bullish divergence, but I'm a little rusty on that. And I never really find that it ends up being that of a useful indicator, because it doesn't, really correspond with time too much. But yeah, I think this could be at support, but it is a downtrending level, so take it with a grain of salt. And so I'm just going to catch up on the comments, and then I'll go over the SPY, because I think that's a good, I've done some nice analysis on how I think that the top could be in there. And And so Hydro Hustler follows up with, I like to play the VIX when the market is going down. Yeah, the VIX, you can make a lot of money with that. I don't play it just because it's, my understanding is it's just like options only. And so time is a really big factor. I don't know when the next crash will be. I think we're going to see a rally for the next couple weeks across the market. And, it might then consolidate after that. It might continue up. But I do think that we will be seeing another leg down. And so, I'm going to actually just flip over to my indexes list and I will add the VIX here. You said the VXX. And so I'll do that. And I'm also going to throw up the VIX because I think this is only options. I don't think that you can buy shares of this. Maybe I'm incorrect about that. But the VXX, if you can buy shares of this, yeah, I mean, this was, let's see, that moved to the upside, 100% swing. We could maybe do this. Yeah, I think I was looking at the VIX. Yeah, I think I had an alert set here at 20. Yeah, it's like when it goes above 20, that's actually really interesting. I had put this alert because Gareth Soloway was talking about, when the VIX goes above 20, that's, potential scary time. And so from that, we see on the second, so I should say on the first, we hit a high of 1948, so not above 20. And then we break above 20, hitting high on the second of 29.66 and close at 23.39. And so from 23.39, that would have been a really good time, on Friday before close, because it's above 20, to then, buy a call and then that go up, at least as far as the price goes here, as far as options go. I don't know how to trade the VIX like this, but that's, 180% swing after it had broken above 20 when there's that alert. And so with that being said, what's the level it's going to pull back to? And then do we want to be keeping an eye on 20 moving forward? And so the lowest low that we've seen in, a long while is 1062. So I am going to do, I'm in the wrong thing here. I'm in the wrong thing again. I'm going to do Fibonacci retracement, not extension, from 1062 up to 673. So from that, we've broken below the 786. Not a big deal. It's good that this is coming down because I think that, we need to be seeing it. But what are some levels that, maybe you guys can pick out some. What are some levels that stand out as being potential, levels of support? One that I see is right around here. So the high 1956, that's right around 20 bucks. I'm going to make that, yellow because I think that's kind of like the first level that we might want to be paying attention to. Also does kind of correspond with, it's maybe like this is a bull flag here, consolidation there. Man, I should have been paying closer attention to that alert on the, it was very clear that we would see, in retrospect, hindsight, whatever that saying is, it was very clear we'd see a crash based on this. And so what we can see is, yeah, this is super cool. This is super, super cool. We can see these downtrending peaks and we got a breakout. And so from this high here, it's a 38.94. And then I'm just going to connect it to, this high of, I've got okay, so that's 38.94. That one's correct. And this one here, I need that to be 1956. 94, 1956. So that's right. So we've got this massive, downtrend here that we broke out from. That's pretty cool. I think that's super cool. We broke out. We were consolidating above that downtrend. We got a test of it right here. I could see us pulling back to that downtrend. And so now I'm actually going to adjust this alert. And I don't want it to be above. Now I want it to be below. And yeah, so I think that we could be seeing this coming back down to 1750, finding support there. And then the next time it breaks above 20, then that's the sign. Hey, we're going to see another gap down. So I think this is a really nice way to look at that. VXX, if this is a way to trade it not with options. And it moves with the SPY. Yeah, so I will look at the SPY as well. I just want to look at these as well. TMC, I will look at that as well, nameless. That'll be the last one that I go over, though, because I need to wind this down. It's been about an hour and a half. So yeah, looking at the VXX, this is one, this is an ETF that I think probably just fades down to zero based on how it's, because there are just these reverse splits, 1 for 4, 1 for 4, just recently 1 for 4. So that's not too surprising. But with that being said, it's kind of hard to draw, like the trend line that I just drew with the VIX, because that's a volatility index rather than something that tracks that which can be traded. And so, when we see the VIX break above 20, that's hey, maybe it's a good time to buy some shares of VXX. And with that being said, I think, from the close here on, well, let's see, when did it was the close on the 2nd with the VIX. That would have been, okay, we're above. And so, and that could be, any time here will be a good time to buy. And so anytime, the open, let's see, do we open the VIX above 20? We did. So then let's say, hey, then it's like buy this candle here at the open. That's a almost 70% swing to the upside. So pretty nice. So yeah, pretty cool there. And so like I've done this in the video on shorting the market and semiconductors. And so what I see here is a potential formation of a head and shoulders pattern. We haven't formed a right shoulder, but we did come back to what might be a neckline. We are bouncing now. I drew this, kind of a rough drawing, and I could see price getting up to 544, and with that, I think it'd be bumping into resistance there because of this consolidation. I think that will be serving as a cap. And so the price could be going up more than 2% from where it's at right now, maybe higher. Possible, we go back to all-time highs. But my thesis, and this could be proven wrong, is that the top is in, and that, we're still in a bull market because, the all-time highs are right here. But if we retrace to these levels, which I go over in the video, I'd encourage you watch it. If we retrace from current price, that's a downside of 13% from where we're at right now. And that's, I don't know if a bear market is 20%, if that's what a definition is. And this is a pullback of 18% from the all-time high, pulling back to around 450. That's a 20% retracement corresponding to this peak that we saw there, which was the, secondary all-time high. We had this all-time high here, and then we got a high over here before this pullback and then moved to the upside. So, yeah, I think that we're going to be seeing rally for the coming weeks, maybe the rest of August, but then September, maybe we see a sell-off, and maybe that is, when we form this right shoulder, and then we start to see more legs down, which could be corresponding to these Fibonacci levels. So, I definitely recommend checking out that video. But then, Hydro Hustle is following up with when the market crashes, I'm buying into VXX. And yeah, I think because you can do shares with VXX. So, on the topic of the market crashes, I'm going to remove my drawings here, and I'm going to kind of talk about, the market crashes. And we can look at this and we can see that, there's some downside. We've gone down a lot from the top, but it's not a straight line. But that's because we're experiencing the intraday price action, the volatility, because we're in the market every single day. This is not a straight line down. But the way that history will look at this, if I go back to, this is the pandemic crash. This happened over the course of, let's see, I'm gonna have some drawings here pop up, but that's a 35% move to the downside. That wasn't straight down. This was very fast. It went over the course of, a month, but there are candles in between there. Not the best example, but this is not a straight line. A straight line would be if we switch over to the monthly and we see that crash. That was, that came right down. And we look at the, let's see, going back in time to the, maybe I want to do this on the quarterly or the yearly. We look back and we will see, the .com bubble, or the, no, this is, was the .com bubble here. Let's do this on the year time frame. We see these, this is, instantaneous right here, 2008. That was an instantaneous drop. But the reality was, we look at this stuff on the daily. We experience this stuff on the daily. And it's never just a straight line down. And so coming back to 2008, 2009, excuse the scrolling, it wasn't a straight line down. We had from the high over here, we had many bounces on the way down. And I think an analogy actually, no, this is not really an analogy because this is a crash. Maybe this is, what's going to happen. Who knows? But just from this high, we saw a pullback of 57%, and that took over the course of more than a year. So if we're in a bear market, if we just entered one, it could take a very long time for us to come down to wherever we find the bottom. And let's look at, 56% move to the downside. Where would that bring us? I'm just going off the chart. 45%. I don't even know if I can click it. Let's see, 56. So just kind of, mirroring what happened in the financial crisis. What stands out relative to that? Interestingly, I wonder if this could be crashing to the COVID lows, and that could be taking, more than a year to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe we find support around here. I don't know. But I just think that we could be at the top of a bear market. So there's plenty of money to be made shorting the market on the way down, slowly accumulating short positions, and then when the volatility index spikes above 20, then go in on the VXX. But in the meantime, recognize that we're going to be seeing bear market rallies on the way down. And so there will be money to be made on the upside as well as money to be made on the downside. So yeah, very cool. But yeah, I will switch back over to the request list. And where do I have that on here? Right here. And then I will add TMC, and then I'm going to end on this one. Otherwise, I won't be able to add timestamps. I won't have enough time to do it. So TMC at the metals company looks like it bounced beautifully, double bottom, and this could be a bull flag. So that's, my quick analysis on that. I don't know if I had talked much about 80 cents or the lows over here, which were, 80.3 cents. But yeah, it looks like without getting too crazy with drawing more stuff or adjusting what's up on the chart, I think that looks like a nice bounce, and this looks like a bull flag. And, maybe, but is this consolidating below this level? So I drew this line. I guess it's kind of rough, but it's really just based on the lows from around the end of 22 to the lows around the beginning of June 2023. That's how I drew that uptrend. And, so I guess I'm just wondering, is TMC consolidating below that level? It looks to me like it's a bull flag. And earnings are coming up, though. Precarious on the 14th, so that's on Wednesday. I think that it looks like the bottom's in, but trading around earnings is super risky. So, I mean, hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, and Hydro Hustle, yeah, I think that's exactly right as far as the VIX goes or VXX goes. It's like as soon as there's an indication that there's going to be a crash, that's when you buy it, not after it. Because after it, then you're buying the top. Because those volatility indexes do spike up and then they cool off quick. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to end the stream after going over TMC. I'll try to add timestamps before I go to bed tonight so it's more accessible to everyone. And then I'm going to try to hopefully do a video on plug tomorrow, but I might do something else that stands out depending on what I see in unusual whales. Hopefully you guys like how I'm using unusual whales to inform on the direction a stock might be going. I do enjoy that, at least learning about unusual whales. I do think it gives me an edge in my trading, so I do like that. And hopefully it can give you guys an edge as well with the videos that I put out. But with that being said, like I said, I'm going to be winding this down. And if you did enjoy this stream, make sure you like it. And thank you for sharing your thoughts in the live chat, in the comments down below if you missed this stream. And, of course, make sure you subscribe. And if you are not already and are interested in becoming a member, it's 99 cents a month. And the benefits of that are I do a weekly trading plan. I do release those a week after the trading plan has been released. So after that week has closed, Friday after close. So it is accessible to everybody for free. There's just a little bit of a delay. I think that I did a really nice job identifying some of the bottoms that were hit on the 5th. I could have added much heavier, but the way that I do my trading is not too aggressive. And so I, was able to buy some of those dips, but, just getting my average down. But with that being said, I think that we're going to be seeing rallies into the coming weeks. And I think that you can see that supported by unusual whales data that I talked about in the Palantir video, the GameStop video, and the Chewy video. And you might maybe dismiss some of that as being meme stocks. I don't think Palantir is a meme stock. I think that's, like kind of like a Google class stock. So I think that there's a lot of more upside to be seen. So Disclosure Crypto. Thank you for reminding me, Gari Network. And so is that, so Nameless, I guess I'm going to stick around because I did forget to go over Gari. Thank you for reminding me. Sorry I missed it. You can always send the reminders earlier too because I do sometimes miss stuff. And so yeah, I'm just going to pull up TradingView because I believe that Gari will be, is that USD? Is this what you're looking at? Gari Network? Yeah, Gari Network here. Crypto.com. So I'll do that one because it says Gari Network. And so, yeah, I'll do this one pretty quick. It doesn't have too much history. This is looking at it on the daily time frame. Yeah, I mean, it's quite possible that there's a double bottom that was formed here. I am kind of the sentiment around crypto that Bitcoin will be rallying to 100,000 by the end of the year, which might be wrong. And I'm not like YOLOing into a position. I just do daily buys that are pretty small, $3 every day. So nothing too crazy. But with this one, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more skeptical or speculative, because it's very new. It's trading less than penny, which, does that really matter with cryptocurrencies? But with that being said, one thing that I can do is a Fibonacci retracement going from the all-time high just being approximate and then coming down to that all-time low that was recently hit. I would think that we want to be seeing price getting back up to, 1.5 cents. That might be resistance. We have seen it act as resistance, but that was really, actually, no, we did see it, act as resistance here. So that's kind of cool. That, we did from this bounce, we did see it there. And so maybe I could do kind of like a micro Fibonacci retracement and see where we're currently trading. above the golden pocket, did retrace to it. And so that is also above this consolidation. So I think that's nice. The golden pocket that's coming down to the 65% level, and that range between that and the 618, that's around 1.05 cents, 1.03 cents. If we break below that, the 786 is around 0.95 cents, or right around 1 cent. Kind of makes sense. So I'd look for that if we do break below 1.03. And so the trouble with me forgetting stuff is that there will be more requests. So nameless, I will look at Twilio, but then I'm going to get out of here. But yeah, so hopefully Disclosure Crypto, sorry if that was kind of rough, but I do think that, it's pretty cool that it did bounce up to the 236 here. And from that, given that there's a bottom to a top here, we can do this other retracement that would suggest floors. Maybe the golden pocket is the floor at where it's currently at. It's bounced there. But if it does break lower, 1 cent, I think that's the next dip buying level. And if it breaks below that, I think it's returning to these all-time lows, which were, let's see, the low of 0.8384 cents. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool how it bounced there and maybe finding support around that golden pocket. And so now I will, I've got to delete something from here so I can add another one. And so Twilio, real quick, do I think Twilio is going down to 50? Their earnings just came out. At this point, I need to clean up some of this. So this is downside. Did get rejected from the 382 here at like 62. I'd like to see it being more volatile to the upside, because here it's like, there's a big move to the upside, but then it effectively gapped. It did gap down, but then filled that gap. And so I'm kind of wondering, is this actually a bear flag? Because, big green move up, but then really, if we flip this over to, like 30-minute time frame, that just totally gapped. That's crazy. 10-minute time, wow. There's just nothing there. 1-minute time frame, did this just completely gap? Yeah. That's crazy. To the 1-minute time frame, opened, and I assume this was on earnings day on the 5th. Oh, well, that's the 5th. Yeah, of course. What was their earnings day on the 1st? So it was right before. I think this one looks like I feel like this looks pretty precarious. Like, I don't know what this is going to do. It's not giving clear signals. Did get rejected from these prior highs. It is trending up, so I feel like it could be breaking lower, but it's just like there's not a real clear signal. This was wrong. If I had suggested that it was coming down to 53 and that's dip buying level, I was wrong with that very clearly. And it doesn't really, if this is a head and shoulders pattern, I don't think that's really there. Because, that's, you're fudging it too much, or I'm fudging it too much for that to be a head and shoulders pattern. But, like with this, given that it's a red candle, I wouldn't think this, but that makes me think it's, more bullish. But then with this green candle up here, that makes me think this is more like a bear flag. And so levels that we need to get above, I think we need to be closing above 62.31. If we can't do that over the course of the next week, I do think that it could be fading, rolling over, and potentially testing 53, 52 as, a double bottom there. So I think it looks pretty precarious. Not a clear signal. So I would be, I wouldn't, An ad's about to pop up in 10 seconds, so I'm going to wind this down. I think if we don't close above 62.31 one day this week, I think it's probably coming down. Um, no, I unfortunately don't got a few girls waiting. I just got going to bed. But yeah, cheers to you, Nameless, and whoever else. Thank you for hanging out. It's been a fun evening. It's been a fun week. I know it's been a little chaotic. I think this next week is going to be chaotic, but to the upside. So cheers to that, and let's have a great week ahead. All right, good night, guys. Take care.